Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Emily Silcock, a realtor here in Spokane, Washington. And if you're considering a move from Seattle to Spokane, you might be wondering what the key differences are and why so many people are making the switch. Today, we're going to dive into a Seattle versus Spokane comparison, covering everything from traffic and weather to cost of living and job opportunities. And for context, we moved here from Seattle to Spokane in 2020. We knew we were going to start a family, and we essentially moved in hopes of a better quality of life. So this is my perspective as someone who has lived in both of these places. I'm going to share with you 5 pros of living in Spokane versus Seattle, 1 thing that could kind of go either way, and 4 things that you might miss if you move to Spokane. First up, let's talk about traffic. When we lived in Seattle, our lives were essentially dictated by traffic patterns. Anytime within a couple of hours of morning or evening rush hour were essentially a no-go for doing pretty much anything. In comparison, Spokane has what I would say is almost no traffic. People who grew up here will fight me on this, but it is really so minimal compared to Seattle. The average commute time in Spokane is 20 minutes as compared to 35 minutes in Seattle, but even 20 minutes sounds kind of high for Spokane. We live in the South Hill of Spokane and there is literally no traffic. You can go run errands or go meet up with friends at 5 p.m. and the worst it's gonna get is being stuck behind a few cars at a stoplight. It has really been a great change from spending hours and hours driving each week, and we now just have more time to do the things that we enjoy doing. Next up, the weather. The one thing that drove us a bit crazy in Seattle was the constant gray and drizzle. And I know Seattle does have one of the most amazing summers ever, but the other 9 months just wore on us. In contrast, Spokane has a true 4 seasons: snowy and cold winters, but with sunshine, crisp and bright springs, hot and sunny summers, and then warm and picturesque falls. Spokane also gets twice as many sunny days as Seattle, which we've found has had a huge impact on our moods here. This will be big for you if you're someone who suffers from seasonal depression and that kind of thing. The winters in Spokane can be kind of intense though. Check out my other video on Spokane winters if you haven't already. So just something to be aware of. Slower pace of life is another big draw to Spokane. In Seattle, the fast-paced city environment just kind of felt overwhelming and seemed especially so if you're going to try to raise a family there. Spokane, on the other hand, offers a more relaxed lifestyle, and it just feels less busy, like you're not trying to keep up with anyone. Plus, everything here is just super convenient, both by proximity and with less traffic, as I mentioned previously. So you'll find yourself spending less time getting places and just in less of a rush in general. Next, let's talk about cost of living. Seattle's housing market is one of the most expensive in the country, making it tough for many families to find affordable housing and what they really want. We knew that we could never afford the house we wanted, with the backyard we wanted, with the neighborhood we wanted in Seattle. But in Spokane, you just kind of get more bang for your buck. Whether it's your first home you're buying or you're just trying to get more space and more amenities for your family, you're just gonna find that your money goes a lot further in Spokane. I will say that not everything is cheaper in Spokane though. When we moved here, we were expecting to save money just across the board: coffee shops, restaurants, grocery stores, but that really wasn't the case. The 3 most noticeable things you'll save money on here though are daycare, housing costs, and gas, since you just won't be driving as much or as far, but most other things are pretty comparable. All right, let's chat about something you might not think about when considering a move, which is the overall vibe of the people. As we all know, Seattle is famous for the Seattle freeze. It is, we all know that. Spokane, on the other hand, is known for its friendly and welcoming community, and this really has been the case. Like, people are actually really friendly here to the point that it might catch you off guard at first. Like, you'll go to Trader Joe's and people just chat you up, like people that are in the line with you, or if you're walking down the street. You're also gonna find that a lot of the workers at the local businesses are teenagers, and like, they're not only just teenagers, but they're the sweetest, most helpful teenagers. It's just a really nice change. The other thing that has been really noticeable since moving to Spokane is just how many transplants there are and how open they are to making new friends. You can literally just take your kids to the park, you're pushing them on the swings, and then another parent will come over, push their kids on the swings, chat you up, and then all of a sudden you have a new friend. So it's been pretty easy actually to meet people here, and that's been a nice change from what we were finding in Seattle. Next up, access to the outdoors. One of the biggest perks of living in both Seattle and Spokane, I'd say, is the incredible access to the outdoors. Seattle does have more what I would consider epic hikes and bodies of water, but I think that what you'll notice in Spokane is that there still are tons of beautiful places to get outside for hiking and biking and boating and skiing, but they're also pretty uncrowded and they're easy to get to. We also have 76 lakes within 2 hours of Spokane, which is pretty awesome. One of my favorite things though about living in Spokane, and specifically the South Hill, is that we have 6 parks and a couple of hiking trails within a few minutes of us, and it's always easy to park there. It's easy to enjoy the space because they're just not that crowded. I just remember back when we lived in Seattle, we would go hiking in a line of people, like up to Rattlesnake Ledge, or trying to put our boat in the water at Magnuson Park and being in line for over an hour and a half, or trying to go to Golden Gardens or Green Lake in the summer and not finding anywhere to park. It just felt harder and more frustrating to really enjoy the outdoor activities when we lived there. The food scene in Spokane is something that people relocating to Spokane always ask me about, and I have to say that Seattle definitely has us beat here. Seattle's food scene is obviously top-notch, with tons of options for dining out and tons of ethnic food options literally in every neighborhood. And while Spokane is quickly becoming more of a foodie destination, and there are some really great restaurants and breweries here, the options are just a little bit more limited, especially for ethnic food. But what I will say is that if you're moving to Spokane with kids or with the plan to have kids, you might find that the food scene doesn't impact your life as much as you think it will. With 2 young kids, we've just found ourselves going out to eat just a lot less. And when we do go out to eat, it's typically a local family-friendly restaurant or pub or brewery. The other thing is you'll just find it easier to get a table at some of your favorite places. So that has also been a nice change. Next, let's chat about employment opportunities. Seattle is obviously a hub for tech jobs, especially with Amazon and Microsoft. The biggest employers in Spokane, in contrast, are the Air Force Base and then basically jobs in healthcare and education. What we find is that many people relocating to Spokane from Seattle are doing so because they can essentially work their existing job remotely. Spokane's also a great place for people who are looking to start small businesses, as there still is a lot of opportunity here. Those who are needing new employment, new jobs in Spokane, however, they might find that their options are more limited here, especially within the tech sector. Diversity is another thing folks looking to relocate often ask about and can be an important consideration when choosing where to live. Plain and simple, Seattle is more diverse by a long shot. Spokane's growing, it's becoming slightly more diverse year over year, but the population here is still 84% white. So if diversity is something you're looking for, Spokane may not be the place for you. And again, you'll find that ethnic food is severely lacking here. Air travel in Spokane is one thing you might want to think about if you're someone who loves to travel or just needs to travel often for work. Both Seattle and Spokane have their pros and cons, but I'll say that this is the one thing that we overlooked when we moved to Spokane. Traveling is definitely easier in Seattle since there just are more direct flights for international and national destinations. Spokane does have direct flights to many major cities, especially cities on the West Coast. And the list is growing, they're trying to improve it, but there still are many places without direct flights. But I will say the one thing that you will love about flying from Spokane is that the airport is close to the city and it's tiny. So we can literally get to the airport in 15 minutes, park and get through security in another 20 minutes total, sometimes less, and then we can be at our gate a couple of minutes later. It just makes everything a lot simpler, but your options are more limited. So there you have it, some pros and cons of moving from Seattle to Spokane. At the end of the day, the decision to move comes down to what you just value the most, what's most important at this point in your life. It could be the slower pace of life, the cost of living, the 4 seasons, whatever it is, Spokane does have a lot to offer, but just know that you might be giving up a few things in exchange. If you have any questions or thoughts, drop them in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos on moving to Spokane. All right, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.